when you're on the internet, it's a lot easier to feign knowledge.
True.
Yeah, definitely. As me and Matt have proven.
Yeah, well, we all do it. You know, it's so easy to appear to be an expert.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when you're going back and forth on like YouTube comments.
Yeah.
If you want to sound smart, all you have to do is look it up real quick on the side. No one's gonna know you're doing it.
Right.
But if you're in person and you're attacking something, and then someone says, "Well, what do you even know about it?" You can't look down at your phone and go, "I know this."
Oh man, I got the first time that really came home to me was when I was doing my history of anime panel at Otakon a couple years ago, and we came to questions and answers, and I got to my panel, and somebody raised their hand and said, "What do you think about X, Y, Z?" And I'm in front of 300 people. I'm like, I don't know. I honestly cannot answer that question. And there was that desire to say, well, I don't think that's to be specific. But I had to just come out and be honest, because anything else, everyone would just immediately count to the wind and say, this guy has no idea what he's talking about. And it is really hard to do that. I wonder if that isn't also part of our culture, in the West at least, of trying to be as impressive as possible.
Yeah.
There's that one-upmanship that is very common.
Yes, very common. I mean, if you move to any town or city in the world, well, in the West, and you get 5 friends. One of those friends is almost always going to try to one-up everything you brag about or talk about.
Yeah.
And part of the one-upping thing is you can't comfortably say anything to another person. That's what makes you a geek for the most part, because when you try to talk to a person in person and you have an opinion, automatically people are going to be fact-checking you on the internet. Like, I believe this of this and this, and then someone's going to go, but part of what you said isn't even right, so automatically I win.
Yeah. So I don't like that guy's haircut. It's very popular in the West, thank you very much.
And that's part of the problem too, where folks, I'm sure we've all been in these conversations where we're like, well, this is true. Now, someone says on Wikipedia, you're right, because Wikipedia is not, that part of that, story is not in Wikipedia for a lot of different reasons. Folks assume that the first page they hit talking about something must be the absolute factual truth. And you have online discussions where folks fall into that trap of trying to sound cool, and it turns out that they don't actually know what that studio has actually done, or what have you.
It's just simple theory. It's perception, reasoning, language, and emotion. And it's a really weird cycle, but in the end, it's that your emotion affects your perception of something to affect your reasoning of something else, to affect how you distribute it in language, and that language ends up affecting someone else's reasoning, which is then changed depending on their emotion of your language. And it's that sort of path on the tone that often, in a flowing of speech like this, that we're having in a discussion like this, we have some awareness of social norms and some awareness of lasting status between us. I can happily consider you guys as sort of friends to me. I haven't met you in real life, but I can consider you guys as friends because of the discussions we have and because of all that sort of thing. But a guy on YouTube called Mr. Happy Face 123, I couldn't have a 50-page discussion with him. I couldn't say, he's a good friend. I can't, because I just haven't had a flowing conversation where I can accept social norms are there and accept that anyone to be different is entirely of the person's bravery rather than the person's anonymity.
Yeah, and I think that gets back into that whole thing that internet culture does not reward, or really doesn't have much in the way of social norms.
Yeah. And it doesn't have any rewards either when it comes to doing this sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it does have its punishment.
Yeah.
Because I think all of you would agree with me, if you've experienced it before, that you have all of these tools right in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
It's the internet.
Yeah.
And you get into an argument with someone. The reason arguments last so long and get so heated on the internet is because it is the worst feeling to lose an argument on the internet.
Yeah.
Because you've lost an argument with all of these tools at your hand.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you've lost an argument with every person who's seen that comment, looking at you. The thing is, what people forget is that you can hide on your anonymity to attack. People forget that in terms of defense, you can hide in your anonymity and not be emotionally affected by something.
Yep.
But the thing is, one of the weird things is that, when you start on YouTube, if you only go on occasion or something like that, you're not emotionally affected. You're not putting proper emotional affection. You have some sort of knowledge of you don't want to lose that argument. And we've all started a flame war. We've all activated on flame war, and we've all gone on way too long, and we know we should stop, but we know we don't want to lose that argument. But the fact is that in something like real life with friends and that, it's okay. You don't, even on something like this, where I have a potential of 200 people watching me. It's okay to lose the argument, because at least I know that's human and that's me, that's almost part of my character. To lose that argument is my history, is my vein of character that will now become part of the social things people know me as.
Yeah.
I lost that argument, oh well. But on the internet, you are not a social thing, you are a blank. And one of the things is, people want to prove themselves on the internet. I've done it with my YouTube channel. I have tried to get bigger, and selfish reasons. It's just my general my trying to get bigger on the internet was originally selfish reasons. Now it's just fun. I just want to do YouTube videos. The end. But it used to be, I had selfish reasons. I wanted to be heard, and it's kind of lucky I got out of that vein of that. And I think that's sort of the thing you get now, that you've got all these sort of people trying to, constantly prove themselves, because people consider the internet as a second life, and in real life you don't want to be a blank. In the internet you do not want to be a blank, because you are a blank with all of its potential. Just people forget that every single other person has that tool behind them as well.
And that's one of the issues too, is the whole thing of online reputation. One thing that really gets to me is folks who have a pseudonym and will only use that pseudonym and will never let anyone know them by anything other than that pseudonym, and then jump pseudonyms constantly. I understand having a pseudonym. That's totally fine. And I understand using that on multiple systems. That's totally fine. But it's one of those, I refuse to let anyone know who I am, so that I can drop this identity, at any time and pick up a new one because I accidentally pissed someone off. That frustrates me.
I always find, when I was sort of early getting into podcasting, getting some guests on, you always get that annoying guest who refuses to be known, if sort of you can set up as sort of just a kind of part of you, or even as just kind of a nickname. Rising Dan 7 doesn't constantly call himself Rising Dan 7. We consider him as Dan. If he doesn't want to use his real name, that's fine. But Dan is always his real name to us, because it's sort of a nickname. But with something like the internet, you often get this whole kind of thing where it's, because I have people who refuse to allow me to say their real name on a podcast. It's oh hey Joe, my name is Jimmy Bob 5000. My name is 12544. You can call me Rob. That's my name. use it.
Yeah.
Want to call me Miniman? Call me Miniman, call me Rob. It's just another addition to my name because I don't like being anonymous, because I don't like the power I have being anonymous.
Yeah.
What's even worse is when you get those extra annoying people who refuse to be called anything other than that pseudonym, to the point where I'll use you for an example, Miniman. If I called you Miniman, you would get pissed off because I didn't have 12544 in your head.
Yeah. Holy crap, you remember the numbers. I remember the numbers. No, I use Miniman 12544 for everything, but it's a username that I've got used to. I've happily used stuff like BobRob49 and all that sort of thing because I can. I don't,
and there's all sorts of reasons why, no one would want to have a different username on every system. You want that consistency. It totally makes sense.
Like I treat Miniman sort of a different name, like everyone on a game or something like that. Sometimes I quite, I like the idea of walking down the street, oh, that's someone you've met, so, let's talk to them. And sometimes it's nice to have, say, a viewer, or something like that, on a podcast or whatever, and you're playing a game, you mean 12544, oh, you mean 12544, you treat it as a second name. I usually BobRob49, if they don't, let's write 12544 at the end.
Exactly. It's that hiding behind a name or a pseudonym so no one can know who you really are, and you turn into this sort of shadow person because it's the internet, it's Shadowrun, and something that can be cyberpunk. Not really. It just becomes stupid. Now, anonymous itself, I understand the reasons folks do anonymous. It's one of those things. I should also point out, you got folks, you have women with abusive ex-husbands. Totally understood. Have your aggressive anonymity. The folks who are hiding behind it just because they're afraid of saying the wrong thing and actually having real-world consequences for saying the wrong thing. That's where it's a problem.
Yeah, because there is that understandable point where total anonymity is important because there are dangers to the internet.
Yeah.
We're not involved in anything where there would be a danger.
Right.
Giving up names.
If I have an 8-year-old kid and I hadn't already thrown out the internet by that point, so he or she just could not get on the internet, she ain't using her real name on the internet, I'll tell you that much. And that's fine. That's how that works. I want her to be, Pony Sparkle 35. But you gotta do it. And it's people who are smart. But part of the thing too is this whole like we said, it's not just anonymity. It's that obsessiveness. It's folks who will. It's a funny thing. It's one thing if you are kind of trolling in the style of classic trolling, where you're kind of just saying this sucks to get a rise out of people, and getting a response and then challenging them to actually figure out what they feel. There's a difference between that and just saying, I disagree with you because of these 12 different reasons, none of which actually make sense. And I have this whole I must be right about this. Dude.
If you're older than 13, something like that, I often have people on my YouTube accounts. I often ask if you're going to comment. I will happily accept video comments because at least you're not hiding behind something.
Yeah.
Video comments are, I think they're quite healthy, because things like that, in some cases you're going to start a flame war, video comments, pretty bad idea. But if you're trying to just sort of be honest and sort of that thing about it, then stuff like video comments does actually encourage it. I wouldn't encourage loads of kids to start doing video comments because anonymity is useful. There's a reason